Okay, so here we are in our next phase, and what we're going to do is, after our masking tape and ink composition, we are going to have a look at the shapes that we've got going on in this, and we are going to then construct them in foam board, which is this material. You will all get a sheet like this, a bigger sheet. I'm using some offcuts, and what I want you to do is just decide on some shapes that echo what you've got going on in here. Don't make them too small. These will be built and slotted together. So I've drawn out some shapes in pencil. I'm going to do a few more. When you cut, you really need to be careful. Ideally, you would be using a metal ruler, but some kind of ruler is good, and you're going to have to put your your scalpel a little bit more out than usual, because it's got to reach through to the bottom of the foam board. It might even help you to stand up to cut. And obviously you're cutting on a cutting mat. If it doesn't go down, if it doesn't cut through the first time, then you are going to just cut again with the ruler. Very neatly. You must do it along with the ruler. You also need to make sure your scalpel's really sharp. We don't really want messed up edges like that. So as you can see, I've got some pieces cut out here now. I didn't really plan it very much, but I tried to find interesting shapes. And what we're going to do is attach your photocopies of your ink and masking tape piece to them. So we turn that over, and I think the best way to do it really is to just try to choose the interesting parts on the back of here, and decide where your shapes are going to go. We're going to stick them down, glue them down, and that's why we've got a few copies. And then we're going to cut around these shapes again. And we've decided that that's the best way to do it, rather than having stuck these down before cutting out the shapes. It's better to do it this way, it's neater. And you will be able, when you cut, to follow the line of the foam board. Just make sure that you're sticking your foam board pieces over the most interesting areas of your sheets. What we need to talk about now is how you're going to join them together in your Vorticism Sculpture. So we need to talk about how you're going to create a slot. So as you can see, there are 3 slots, practice slots on this one. This one is too wide. It's 5mm, and that is actually too wide for most of the foam board, which I think is more like 3.5 or 4mm. So you need to make sure that you cut them very carefully, not too wide, because you can always make it a little bit wider if you've done it too narrow. And generally the idea is that you would be slotting one slot into another. Although if you have created your slots really well, sometimes you might find that actually you only need to create one slot, and that some of the foam board is thicker and it will actually stay quite firmly. So you need to be very careful with your knife, and you need to measure. So the way I do it is I make one slit, and I then might measure with a ruler to just make a mark where that 3 or 4 mil is, like that. And then I make the next slit, which is very, very hard if your knife is not sharp. And then just kind of punch through at that end bit there, and then you'll need to sort of tease it out neatly, okay? And that looks like quite a good one. So I'm going to now try and work out how I want my sculpture to fit together. You might need to put it together and then take it apart in order to make another hole. So it is a sort of process of trial and error. So as you can see, I'm finishing off my sculpture. It has to stand up by itself, and obviously it has a front and a back, really. You could try and make it so that you could walk all the way around it and only see pattern, but I've decided to just give it a front, and maybe it looks quite good from the side as well. And it needs to fit together firmly and not fall apart when I pick it up. And ideally what you want to do now is take photographs of your sculpture from several different angles, perhaps with lights shining on it to increase the drama of the shadows that it creates. And then you should be putting it in your sketchbook and evaluating it.